Greetings from Castle Goring, from Mickey, Aurora, and from me. Today is the first day of Royal Ascot, and as you can see, I am all gussied up for going today. And isn't my hat just spectacular? It is a Dada Acero hat. Dada Acero is one of this country's chicest, most fashionable and most desirable milliners. She only has private clients. I'm going to ask Sean to post her name and her details at the end of this, so that if anybody should wish to have a Dada Acero hat, they will know how to get in touch with her. Okay? Thank you so much. So, without further ado, if Aurora will allow me, I am going to plunge in with the... Sorry, rush. With so much going on. R.A. says, Lady C, your old channel GB News and all the tabloids have reported that the King will attend all 5 days of Royal Ascot this year. I remember you were going to have Thomas Markle Sr. as your guest in the Royal Enclosure in the Queen's Jubilee year. That's correct. Can you fill us in on the King's interest in racing and what Ascot's like? Well, shall I do what Ascot's like before doing the King's interest in racing, which is very recent, newly found? And I'll come to that in a minute and tell you why and how. Ascot, well, it takes forever to get there because there's so much traffic. Depending on what car park you're in. Number 1 is the best. Number 2 is owners and trainers, which is on a par. Quite frankly, I don't really know about the rest of them, except number 7, which is, or used to be, in the racetrack, but certainly you had to cross over. And I don't know if you still pay no attention to all of that. I'm awfully sorry. I've been going for nearly 50 years, and I only do pay attention to what is of interest to me. But then at 2:30, it might be 2 o'clock. As you can see, none of this has stuck with me. There's the picnic usually. The smartest picnics are in car park number 1. And then other people have picnics in their car parks as well. And it's very sort of British and really quite wonderful. It's unique. And you have all of these grand, smart people standing up, usually being served by some wonderful butler. And I used to do the whole 9 yards. China, proper cut glass, decent silver. And every year a place setting went missing. Usually somebody would just walk off to talk to someone else and leave it balanced on another car. And finally, it must have been at least 10 years ago, I declared to everybody, well, forget it. I said, you're all being demoted. You're going to get plastic and paper. And I'm afraid I've done that since. But many people, I do have my wonderful butler, who is marvellous. He's just the most so sweet, I can't tell you. He used to work for Prince and Princess Michael. And he is just divine. And he knows many of my friends, and my friends know him, and it's all nice and cozy. It's all very cozy and familiar. And then many people go in to see the royals arrive. Well, my car parking space is very near to where the horses come around. So, and I never bother to go in. I'm sorry, I'm so blasé about it all now that I just never bother to go in to see the royals arriving. Uh, Lots of other people do, and I don't discourage people from doing it. And those of us who are stragglers, we find our way in usually after the first race and into the royal enclosure, obviously. And before Ascot was rebuilt, the old grandstand, which was very much more old fashioned, was actually wonderful for the royal enclosure. We had half of it. Now we have about a quarter. And it's all very modern now, and it's not the way it used to be, which was far more charming. And we used to have the Brigadier Gerard Bar, where everybody used to congregate, which was just beside the royal box, and you'd see everybody coming and going. And it was very cozy, but all those days are over, so you can't regret it. You know, it's the world moves on, and it's become a lot more corporate. So it's more like a business. Well, 40 and 50 years ago, it was a club. So I hope that answers the question to that extent. Now, as for the king, yes, he has developed a passion for racing late in the game, and I understand it because I come from a racing family. My father's family were Jamaica's leading racing family for 40 years in the last century. And one of my cousins has won every race. I mean, he still owns race horses, and I think he trains as well. And he's won the Jamaica Derby, blah 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 blah. And but my my the immediate main line of my family has dispersed all over the world. So we really don't have much of a profile in Jamaica anymore. But because I was brought up in that world, I understand it, and I basically piggybacked on everybody's knowledge. But once you own horses, and once you not only own them, but you get hooked into how they're running, how they're performing, the breeding, etc., it becomes very addictive almost. And it's a very interesting, exciting, down to earth world where class doesn't count on one level at all. Although, of course, owners are usually of a certain ilk, let's put it that way. If you weren't of that ilk, you wouldn't be able to afford a horse. Horses are very expensive to own, to breed from, to breed with, to stable, to train. I mean, it's the sport of kings for a reason. it's not cheap, let's put it that way. And but it's very classless in another way, because you end up the stable boy is as valid a person to give an opinion as the trainer or the owner, usually more valid than the owner's wife or husband, because the spouse usually knows less than the owner. And for instance, Prince Philip had no real interest in racing, but the Queen was avid, as was her mother. And the King is now avid because he inherited the Queen's stable. And the Queen's stable is one of the leading stables in the world. So he inherited a true jewel, and he has got hooked on, because you get reports every day from the trainers, and you're in touch with your trainer, and then you know, let's breed this dam with this blah 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 da da da, and it's a very very enchanting world and captivating once you're a part of it. If you're not a part of it, which I've not been since I was an adult, well, since I was 22, actually. So I was in the early days of my adulthood. It's not so interesting. So, but I can well see why the king has got hooked on it. Because it is a wonderfully engaging world, and everybody's so natural and down to earth, and just and usually everybody is very respectful. You have to be respectful. You have to respect the animals. The animals have to respect and like you. There's strong connections between horse and owner, trainer, rider, etc., jockey, if it's a race, but otherwise it's just a rider. There, you know, you get I remember some of my earliest childhood memories are of getting up and going with Daddy at 5 o'clock in the morning to see the horses exercise and run. And the smell of the grass, and the dew, oh, it's just heaven. So I see why Charles has got hooked. If he hadn't owned, he wouldn't be hooked. But if I ended up owning a great stable, I would end up being hooked as well. I understand it, let's put it that way. Isabel Marquez says, Meghan and Harry must have been squirming, seething, and soaking in their own venomous jealousy, watching Catherine, Princess of Wales, and Prince William, both so regal at trooping the colour. Let's all praise how stunningly beautiful, elegant, graceful, and classy Catherine looked. The more we praise her, the more Meghan gets livid. Well, that is absolutely true. I understand that the way to have Meghan frothing at the mouth is to praise Catherine, or to say anything about Catherine that's positive. And the way to get total inertia from Catherine is to mention Meghan's name. It's like no reaction whatsoever. She's too dignified. I love it. Yes, she is a beautiful woman, and she dresses so beautifully. And she always looks so kempt, so groomed. You know, nowadays, you don't say that a woman is well groomed. When I was young, you often commented on how well groomed a woman was. Also, horses are well groomed. But then there's a lot of similarities between a fine racehorse and a beautiful filly, as my father would have said about good-looking women. And Catherine is a fine racehorse in human terms. So exquisite, everything. So well chosen, well controlled, well, really, she is very careful to distill. Everything is well distilled. Just exquisite. She is exquisite. And she and William and the children, and didn't the Queen look lovely? I thought she looked great. And the King, he really looked good as well. So, yeah, I gather that Meg's baby was not best pleased. Poor darling. One tail left eye. Shall we try 5? MW7772 says, William was wearing a black armband in honor of Air India victims, and Catherine looked so beautiful as always. 55 Britons died in that plane crash. That's why William was wearing an armband. It's a mourning band. And I thought it was very well done. It was so appropriate in the circumstances, because that means a good, well, there were 200 and something, so 55 is, if not a quarter, 20% of those who lost their lives were Britons. So, and of course, the King and the Prince of Wales and the other members of the royal family are supposed to represent all of us and care about all of us. I thought it was a very beautifully considered and executed touch. Tanya Fabregas says, Good afternoon, Lady C and fellow viewers. It's not afternoon where I am, because I've got to be getting myself into high gear to move on. So this is being taped early. I just had to laugh after scrolling through Moonpig, an internet-based card company. I was in search of inspiration for a Father's Day card, and I stumbled upon a Father's Day card with a couple on the cover which looked like Harry and Meghan, and again looked like the vulgar and crass twerking video she put out. On the cover it read, This Father's Day, Dad dance like no one is watching. How humiliating for Harry. Going from one of the most privileged and popular royals on earth to being mocked by a card company, I find it highly amusing. I find it tragic, actually. Yes, it certainly has its droll element, but I find it tragic. I mean, what that man must, at 3 o'clock in the morning, on occasion, think, or is he capable of that degree of insight? That is something else. But the whole thing is tragic. I mean, he and Meghan could be here right now. They could be dolled up and togged up the way I am and everybody else is going to be. And they could be partaking of a really unique occasion with very, very mixed bag of people, some fabulous, some not so fabulous, but the rich tapestry of life, instead of which he bums around smoking dope all day in California. At least that's the impression he gives, let's put it that way. And as for her, the less said the better right now. And yeah, how the mighty fall. But it just goes to show, when you enter into a Mephistophelian bargain, don't be surprised if you end up losing your soul. Let's leave it at that. Anna Moore says, Lady C, do you think that the royal family are worried now that Meghan and Harry have hired the Crown PR woman as their new director of communications? I'd be if I was them. I wouldn't. I mean, sorry, I certainly wouldn't. I mean, Joseph Goebbels was arguably one of the greatest propagandists of all time. And did it behoove him at the end of the day? Did his cause prosper ultimately? The fact of the matter is, you can spin something only for so long in a free society where people can discern and observe for themselves. And beyond that point, when the penny drops, let's put it that way, you can have the best PR in the world. Even if you dupe most of the people most of the time, you do buck up against something called reality. And that, at that point, is going to trump you. Let's remember that during the Second World War, a goodly percentage of the German populace was fed so many lies that it believed that the Nazis were going to win the war. Stalingrad? Oh, a mere bagatelle. No big deal. El Alamein? Oh, no big deal. Etc., etc., etc. Well, where did it end up? Let's make that comparison, and let's remember that reality ultimately trumps fiction or propaganda. So I hope that answers the question. And may I make the point that Harry and Meghan have appointed as their new director of communications. Remember, we're royalty, and because we're royalty, we've got a court in exile. Well, not in exile, actually. No, we're not in exile. We chose to leave because we wanted a bigger, better world. And I've shown H what a bigger and better world there is in California. And yeah, it's just a matter of waiting for all the chickens to come home to roost in the way I want them to, not the way you want them to. Well, they have appointed someone called Emily Robinson. And she is known as a ruthless Emily, which is actually high praise indeed. She was the PR executive responsible for promoting Netflix's Royal Family series. Do you remember the one called The Crown? Remember the connection? Netflix, Harry, Meghan, Ted Sarandos, the divorce series. Can we wait? And in the meantime, the drama continues. So it is going to be very interesting to see how long she lasts before she also has the stench of failure contaminating her previous successes. Because Meghan has the knack of dragging everybody down to her mean level. And I use the word mean in its many, many different meanings. Evidently, she was a real toughie when she was at Netflix. She had tight control of things, and she was as divisive as Meghan is. Let's see, 2 cocks, 1 walk? How's that going to work? I'm not sure it's going to work at all. Well, maybe initially, when the love bombing is taking place, but ultimately, I don't see that one lasting. 2 cocks, 1 walk? Is Meghan going to become subservient? Is she going to learn her lesson? Is she going to discover that she doesn't know everything? Well, maybe we should hope that Emily Robinson doesn't conquer Meghan, because then we're going to have Meghan as a success. And I think she's going to be more unbearable as a success than she has proven to be as a failure. Because remember, in Australia, when the press were presenting her and Harry's tour as a greater success than it was, it went straight to their tiny heads and blew them up to such an extent that they both ended up wafting in the stratosphere from which they have yet to descend. Pamela T says, Lady C, I saw your tweet on X about Meghan and Harry losing 6 staff. Can you fill us in a bit more, please? Sorry, I don't remember my tweet. Sorry. Oh dear. It seems like 1,000 years ago. Although it was what? A day? 2 days? I don't even remember that. Oh, you have no idea how busy I am. I just do things. I keep my brain free for the information I need, but my actions, I'd say I'm like a performing seal jumping through hoops. I just do it, and then having done it, it's as if I'd never done it. Okay, what do I know? Well, 6 more members of staff have been said goodbye to, or have said goodbye to Harry and Meghan. Oh, I don't quite know how we want to put this for legal reasons, but they include someone called Kyle Boulia, who was their LA-based deputy press secretary. And wasn't he a great success? Not that we can blame him for the fact that Meghan was always on his back, riding it, telling him to do stupid things. Then there was Charlie Gibson, who was serving as the, wait for it, European Communications Director. Cock your finger as you take tea, you classy piece of work. Then there is Leanne Cashin, who was the head of operations. Oh, I wonder what sort of operations they were. Were they cesareans? Were they more minor procedures like epidurals? Were they hysterectomies? Were they deliveries? I'm not quite sure what the operations were. Plastic surgery, new nose, facelift. Well, let's stop there. Head of operations at Archewell Foundation. That paean to philanthropy. You know, the one where 95% never gets dispensed to charitable causes. But she, a month ago, was being described as exceptional, and that she had strength and vision, and effectively that the Duke and Duchess, their Royal Highnesses, needed her so greatly that she was always going to be there. Then, of course, there's the other person called Disha, what's her name again? Disha Tank, the Director of Communications. Can you imagine? A Director of Communications who's gone. Not to mention the personal assistant. And don't tell anybody I told you. Meghan's social media manager gone too. 10 tears left eye. Well, of course, Meghan has to blame somebody for the fact that Vanity Fair dared to speak the truth. Oh, sorry, told a whole load of lies about her. Sorry. My mouth does slip from time to time. I wish I had greater control over my tongue, but sadly, not always. You know, the interesting thing about Harry and Meghan, really, we're speaking about Meghan, because Harry never had these problems before Meghan. They hire supposedly good people, but you are only as good, ultimately, as, well, let me rephrase that. A jockey is only as good as the horse it is riding. You can be a superb jockey. If you're mounted on a nag, there's no way you're going to win the race. Of course, a bad jockey can lose a race on a good horse, but a great jockey cannot make a nag win a race. So what have they done? They've hired something called method communications, which is one of those oleaginous, slick, oily, American PR firms, which, never forget, royal manure is better than chocolate ice cream. Tastes accordingly. Cock your finger as you take tea. Don't forget, you've got to be classy. Well, evidently, they have also acquired Sarah Fosno, who used to work for Bill Gates as well. So she is now Meghan's chief of staff. Let's remember, we're dealing with royalty. They have a royal court. They have a royal court, not in exile, but set up on their territory, because they are going to end up being the emperor and empress of the universe, the royal couple to show those dinky little Waleses that they don't really count, because Megsy Baby's classy. And Catherine, well, I mean, Catherine's nothing compared to Megsy Baby, is she? Unbelievable. But the caravan rattles on. I think, actually, maybe I'm going to have a toss-up between Borodin and Ascot Gavot as the song that we're going to start out with. I should say the music, because the Borodin is not a song. Because it just occurred to me, the caravans crossing the steppes of Asia. Fabulous music by Borodin. Well, these caravans are crossing the steppes of the world. I gewalt. Lisa McGriff says, also, aren't David Beckham and the King planning a television show together? A documentary or something like that? Could you comment on this? Thank you so much, Lady C. Yes, the King is going to be featured very prominently in a new documentary which features David Beckham. Isn't that interesting? This is going to be absolute fodder for Megsy Baby and H to try to lure the unfortunate Brooklyn and Nicola Peltz even more into her lair. But Harry is complicit in all of this. Let's not forget that. Let's not totally exonerate him. He is, after all, over 21. So they will. It's an upcoming Amazon Prime documentary which is going to be showcasing the King's environmental philosophy and the work of the King's Foundation, which used to be the Prince's Trust, if I'm not mistaken. But it is, Prince Philip, the present King's father, was one of the fathers of the ecological movement. And Charles has been, from he was a little boy, he has been steeped in ecological interest. And I think it is only appropriate that Charles and now William have actually taken over Prince Philip's torch, because Prince Philip also was not namby-pamby. He believed in culling animals, for instance. He wasn't namby-pamby, but he was a fine thinker, and he certainly knew how to prioritize and have the balance between nature and civilization, that one would respect the other to the enhancement of both. And we're going to end with what Karen Blaylock says. Dear Lady C, children who have been adopted into a family are family. Big capitals. Thank you for making that point abundantly clear. 3 hearts. Sharing genetics doesn't necessarily guarantee love. You can see that again. The era when Russia allowed foreign adoption was a godsend to many families, mine included. Not only mine, many in the United States of America, Canada, all over the world. I helped another couple to adopt a beautiful baby girl from St. Petersburg. Eugenie Visharenko, who organized my adoptions, also organized that one. And the couple was lovely. They were extremely rich, very nice, and they adopted this beautiful baby girl. And I think adoption is a gift from God. I don't care how children come as long as they arrive. And I could not love my children more than I do. And the fact that they are adopted is neither here nor there, not where I'm concerned and not where anybody else in my family is concerned. They are as validly members of my family as anybody else. And I think that is the only desirable way to view family life. And the fact of the matter is, just because you're related to somebody genetically doesn't mean you like them, much less love them. I can think of many a person who is very closely related to someone else and they loathe each other. So love transcends borders that blood cannot. And when they say blood will out, once you are adopted and you are a part of the family, you thereafter are like blood. So you are still family. And when they say, blood comes first, well, what they really mean is once you're in the family, that comes first. And I can think of very few people who think differently, who have adopted children. And that's why I think it is a great shame when people have come by children that they go to extremes to pretend that the route taken was one that it is not. Let's leave it at that. And on that note, I'll say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. If it has, please keep the questions and comments coming in so I will know what you would like us to be speaking about. Thank you so much. Take good care and Godspeed. Bye-bye. And if you have truly enjoyed this, would you care to like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and Godspeed. Bye-bye.